will tell, and so will the result of this game. A brisk throw into our final showdown of the day, but Demo, truly, did we really want to have to wait for it?
No, because it's FaZe, and I like FaZe.
You like FaZe?
I like FaZe.
You?
Yeah.
Like FaZe? I didn't know this.
Oh, well, strap yourself in.
Oh!
It'll be a bumpy ride.
Well, it might be or it might not be. Last time these two teams met in Stage 1 during regulation, it was a 7-0 win to FaZe on Skyscraper. Then they got into playoffs and it was a 2-0 to FaZe there, 7-2 and 7-3. You know what the decider map was that we didn't see, Demo?
What's that?
It was Lair. Look at that.
Yeah,
crazy.
Well, the thing about Lair as well for both these teams, it's probably both teams' best map currently this stage. Both teams have played it. Shed load of times, I think 3 times each they've played it, and neither of them have lost on it. So it's really, really popular with both of them. I mean, what else can you say? It's just going to be a great game. I mean, both teams preferred map for them. They're going to come to blows. It'll be a great one.
10 seconds left. Activating jammer.
Well, let's see the blows that start to break their way across. As we said, this becomes that shootout for the top 2 at this point. And that precious extra bit of momentum. Furia with the points that they claimed earlier on have claimed themselves a keen spot there. W7M with the win that they pulled earlier on today, well, it means that even if they get the 3 points today, either of these two teams, W7M is still in with that sort of, you know, out there chance of getting themselves that second place, but this would pretty much cement chance of one of these other two teams still in playoffs, but with an extra best of 3 to have to go to. There's a lot of strong teams that have otherwise filtered themselves into 3rd through 6th place. We've obviously been treated to a couple of Lairs today, and apparently it seems to be the treat every single play day in this region. Demo, why do you think that is?
I just think Lair's just very popular across all the regions. It's now submit itself as just a part of the pool. And yeah, teams enjoy the map. It's a well-designed map. You got plenty of options in terms of obviously hard breaching, which we will see a little bit of this now from King. Plenty of util dump moments as well, especially towards the art side of things. Shields, good for shields. Yeah, just a map which does a lot of stuff, just does a lot of things.
Minute 30 and pressure on towards a player that might get themselves out of there, situated on the main stairs. You can hear the smoke start to pop and the bees start to echo their way across, and instead they just get out of there. Yeah, there might be pressure on the plant spot, but there's nobody immediately going through it because they don't really have anything else at this point. FaZe, though, have been able to make great things happen with little in their pockets, and as the Glaz watches over and waits for a swing round. Well, it's actually the destruction, the rebuild either side of the site. The keepers go up and they almost immediately come back down. The Cons is desperately trying to lean into an engagement, but as we said before, with this wall still only now getting the breach, a great play with that mute jammer and another bit of keeper construction behind the desk. The CEO is in. They're not happy that you're ruining their workday currently.
Cons is all out of keepers though. Has to dig himself in and hold the angle onto that door frame, but gonna be a Blackbeard is gonna be met with first. Fires at an impact, but get FaZe just slowing down ever so slightly. That mute jammer being a big issue for them. A great shot there from Cons, takes down Handy, but I don't think FaZe have a way in. I think this is very difficult for them. They're gonna try and pre-open the wall, and they will try and do so, but they've dumped a lot of util, and this Tachanka is still here, Amy.
I mean, that's it, right? I think that one mute jammer slowed them down so much. A great trade over, but Cyber does finally find one, and Vidaking's going for the plant and not being stopped for it somehow. With a very sliver margin left, they couldn't land it with either the smoke canisters or Tachanka. KDS gets Wizard, Cyber gets Hates, and now Alpino trying to fight their way back across towards the kid itself. The wall being structured the way it is means they might be able to lean in, but it's awkward to try and make the pass happen when a Blackbeard is playing that position. The C4 won't catch anything. And any way they look at it, they're going to be swung on from either side. Fantasy's just going to hold down F. Oh, gets up on the pop onto one. Has to hold it again, though, and the Blackbeard will get the easy pull away. It's almost the moment I thought he was going to stick it and get it there, though.
Nah, I think FaZe have got that. No problem for them. Well, almost a little bit of a problem. The dreaded mute jammer. Playing a little bit spoiler there, but eventually they did make it through that breach and got the plant down, which I'm surprised at. I think the fact that that diffusers went down is question mark for NIP. I'm seeing C4s from the clutch player. You know, he's still in the C4 in his back pocket. Why was that not being used earlier? Just, yeah, NIP, plant denial, should have been there, wasn't there. FaZe just about get it over the line. Still, FaZe, just, they find a way, they always do.
Bomb located by attackers.
First round is theirs, on the attack, on the stepping on towards Lair, and narrow as the margins could have got, the team that wants to keep their pace. With Fury on the top, and NIP, as they sort of alluded to, struggle when they get into those big games, right? Those games that are the toughest potential opponents prove the toughest. Who would have thought? NIP do. But it also leads you to have a bit of a shutdown. Even if teams are on a great run of form, sometimes coming against an old problem raises several other old problems. It's early doors on this layer, the map that's been played so continually throughout this region and even today. What do they do if they come against another singular problem? The mute is immediately back on. I do like that a one jammer sort of kept everything jammed up for about 2 minutes.
Changing max. Reload. Magnet set. Magnet ready.
So we've seen this bomb site. He played already today, and typically it's all about the sense. You know, that is the most popular operator that we see on this bomb site. The fact that you can just sense across the bomb site to not only block just generic angles from players inside of the bomb site, holding angles onto the door, but it also blocks off the vision from the players upstairs on the vertical. So NIP need to be ready to respond with any explosives that they have. They've got impact and also a C4 that can deal with the sense. But for FaZe, how do they want to go about things? And they say, to talk about impacts, you just use one on a barricade, Amy. I mean, what was he thinking with that one?
Why not? We talked about how the great use of the nade and the dying throws on Chalet before as well. And how important those bits of utility can be when least expected. Why not just throw it against? Why not just throw utility at Keepers? Ooh, why not throw Fantasy at Cyber? Remove the thermite. We did hear the sound of some of that popping off, and as Fantasy gets traded out, there's the response to the follow-through Keepers, and Fantasy... not Fantasy even. Handy, looking for the follow-through. Fight cons! Drifts away. Drops Handy. 4 versus 3. And the fight's still sort of capitalizing its way across kind of all the echelons of the map itself. You're looking at a site that we've talked about how necessary parts of the control are, right? With the verticality. This is the widest we've seen this approach. After think of all the times we've seen this as a very close lead in. But now we go back to that close. They don't have that vertical control. They're going to see if they can try and pop the pocket in. They'll roll those light walls through, just force out anyone against the back wall, because I don't think they have the breach opened on the opposite side, and see if they can get themselves tucked for the plant. The smoke canister isn't good enough. The second one does, but give the life of the plant, it's a fine trade. In fact, they don't. They're able to somehow get out a single breath more, and they would have lost the body if a night. 3 versus 2 retake. Post plant. Vida King obviously struggling with health. They're just pre-firing the angles because for them it wastes time and hates. Somehow gets the take in the middle of that. There's one. They're on the kit though. They're going for the defuse. The nade will come over the top, but it's too little, too late.
Oh, NIP, some absolutely cracking shots to make that retake a success. Great work from the Gunners. FaZe Clan. And they got the plant down. That was the important thing. Just could not hold back the retake. I looked at the positioning as well of those 3 remaining players. Every single one of them, Emmy, in a position where they cannot be traded by their teammate.
Defuse bombs.
That's a big issue for them too. You know, how come the Capitao is in that pause over towards Skybridge rather than maybe trying to move down and play a crossfire with his teammate on the window? You know, moments like that, you know they're above.
I still have such thoughts about that site. And I was a million miles away, scratching through all of the times it's played today, but I don't know if it's been won a single time by the attackers.
5 seconds left before insertion.
And I don't think it's played very differently in this region compared to the other regions that we've got to see it. Like in pretty much the other times that we've seen it, it's been heavy focus on above, heavy focus on getting that lockdown, and then trying to make the plant stick afterwards and sort of forcing out the pressure on the external wall. And it's seemingly every single time we've seen it attacked, it's been just a direct drive. They'll get themselves in the top of the green stairs, right, and put the pressure on towards green, and then just tuck it behind a light wall. But it's just been that every single time, pretty consistently without fail.
FaZe. Slow and steady approach. They know what they're dealing with, and it is going to be a roam game in towards that top floor, and well, Hates is trying to get himself out of there. Nobody on the pinch, though. FaZe just taking their time with it. I thought that was a really good opportunity there to get the kill, but somehow Hates is alive and well. Easily retreat back to the rest of his teammates. But still a good start, though, for FaZe. I mean, clearing away roamers in towards the top floor. You've got a good foothold inside of the map now, and you can start putting pressure onto these players in towards the mid floor. Hates, though. Well, you've left him alive, Emmy. And because of that, he's been able to kill Handy.
Yeah, I mean, you say a good start to the map, even better, as they're able to get Handy. They're able to get the removal of the Hibana. You're looking at all the pressure on towards the vertical site now, and those hatches, well, what else do you have to cook with? You hope that the main one is opened at this point, but if it isn't, that's a bit of a tragedy. There's still a C4, still the pressure you can do, and you've still got mirror windows. You've still got this extra utility to try and pop yourself open is now just going to, what, remain? You're going to have to rush your way towards it. Sets themselves up a bit of a smoke cover and worried about traversing the Great Divide with the filtration window below, but they're able to hold on to this position. The smoke canister is being used, 50 seconds, and more than happy to just try and rock up close as the Buck tries to get some of this work done and make sure that if they get pushed out, they're going to get caught out elsewhere. There's the rotate. Ooh, there's almost a caught player. They pulled themselves down to the bottom of the stairs, and rotten timing, they escape. Ooh, FaZe. Unfortunately, the stars did not align, and the Buck has to explain why they weren't able to net that kill, but Souls is still under pressure. You can still see them forcing the stairs. KDS gets cons in the meantime. With Vidiking going down in that exchange. And here's that mirror window I talked about. Without the Hibana, they're just up against it. There's the cement on towards Vidiking. 10 seconds. They're just trying to send themselves down the stairs. A trade out. Followed through by another swing against that mirror window. A 3 versus 1 with 5 seconds. Yeah, you've got the kit, but you have nothing else going for you. And IP, lock it down.
Yeah, good job. IP played it really well. Good roam game to start off with. Wasted a good amount of time. Got the kills when they needed to, and then they just fell back into the site and made FaZe panic, made them sweat. Yeah, NIP understand the map very, very well. I mean, both teams understand the map very, very well. It's have really high preference for both of them. Neither of them have lost at this stage. So it was always going to be a good game. Now, I would preference to say that probably defense is where you're going to see most of the success come from inside of this game. So to see a 2-1 scoreline at this stage after 3 rounds, yeah, we're pretty on track for like a 4-2 split. I mean, I feel as though this kind of game, it just screams overtime for me.
You and I have apparently had like the longest day the region has had.
Have we? I haven't felt it that long.
It hasn't
just
felt
me?
That. The game's
I
been
think it's
really
been
good.
I think it's been good. So I don't know what these part-timers, Emmy. This is what I mean. Like,
well, we
these can't keep up. They weren't even here.
They cut to the camera, they weren't even there. I don't think that ever made broadcast, so I just reacted massively to something that didn't happen.
You're seeing things.
And I looked crazy.
Yeah.
But Lynx was maybe eating on camera and they got caught out, but their expression was so funny as to how they visually reacted to that information. And I wish I just had that clip or a gif of it, because I would like to use that in my day-to-day life. Because I'm in my early 30s and still use GIFs to respond to things. I know. I'm so sorry. What year were you born? 2006 or something?
No. No. 99.
Oh, you're a 90s kid.
Yeah.
Okay. I like you more now.
Thanks.
Not that I actively dislike people born after the year 2000, but it mainly because it makes me uncomfortable with that I am old. Not like Tim old, like I'm still young, but not in this context. Trying to get themselves some pressure here on towards up. And remember how late things got towards that plant because of the delay. You can see that NIPs tried to respond to that and stepped up. More of a defense in on the position. 40-50 seconds gone. And the first smoke canister is the warning from the Glaz of saying, I'm coming in. Get out of there. There's a bit of a B coverage as well. And a spray against Cyber. Doesn't net anything more than a tickle of damage. But it's still that game of making them hesitant. Making them a bit scared of this approach. Fantasy. The important job of playing that sort of extension here. Yes, there's no more mirrors to give that stretch, but you've still got these keepers. Set yourselves back into these positions, and Fantasy has to be careful they don't get themselves caught out. Maybe weren't expecting to rotate up towards the main stairs already, but they're at the top. They're waiting and droning. They're aware of you and might be about to meet a Blackbeard or about 4 other people. As the steady swing comes around. And the smoke, another Glaz moment.
Oh, they're just going to try and nade the guy out in behind the desk, and is able to sidestep that very quickly. Also been able to get rid of the electrifications on the wall, and therefore they have got their way in and can start going in for that plant wherever they choose to. But still, denial that they have to try and up against, mostly being that Tachanka and that smoke. And oh, Cyber tries to run for his own smoke, think he's going to be safe, but not going to be the case. He gets taken out. The heap load of util being fired off. Oh my word, Fantasy. Slow down, mate. We can't keep up. 2v5. FaZe just crumbling before not just the util, but the players. Not just sitting back. They're being brave. They're taking the swings. They're challenging Fantasy again. Not for the quad. Not the quad. You can't get the quad.
Do it.
Oh my.
I said the importance of what you can do, and well, Cons gets the last one, but still very important. You step in, you make them uncomfortable, and taking back the win on towards that site that puts them in a pretty good swing round here. As they get more and more confident, NIP, that they're being reactive, they're being responsive. It was the worry. Are they going to be a bit coy, a bit scared and concerned? No, they're happy to set themselves in for these engagements, go for these brawls, be bloody, be violent.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
FaZe. 1 round of the opening 4. And it feels a long, long time ago, and it wasn't on this side, it was on the one that they've just lost. So at this point, NIP, if they can keep themselves up on this pace and this sort of score across, could end the half on a 5-1. Every single entry kill has gone into the favor of NIP.
I mean, it's a stat that we always look at, you know, being able to confirm that your team will essentially be playing a 4v5 at some point in the round is big. Very, very big to have. So, opening stats are very, very important. I've always said that I think the entry job is the hardest job in the game. Harder than Inflect, IGL, support, all that. I think having to be the first man in the building and consistently taking a gunfight against other opponents is so difficult because you're essentially saying I can either set my team up for success or set them up for failure. And I think that's a lot of stress. That's one thing about entry players. Are always under a lot of stress to get that first pick. That's all they're after. If they can do that, they've done their job.
It's often described as the make or break position, right? If you don't have somebody that has the confidence to go for fights, regardless of how good they can be in gunfights, if they don't have the confidence to take fights, then you could ruin an entire round. You can put that pressure on your other players, your flexes, your backline, your support, your whatever, but their confidence is built almost on the confidence of your entry. And if they're not feeling it, it's an unfortunate ripple where the rest of the roster's like, oh, I have to step up now. The entry's never feeling that pressure. The entry's very rarely like, our smoke player isn't quite pulling. Our thermite isn't quite getting things. All right, I got to step in. Outside of the rare instances where your entry is your thermite. Fantasy and Pina, though. Keep that stat scratched in. And, I mean, 0 and 10 between Handy and Souls on the opener is also a bit of a problem at rearing its head. Vidiking does find Fantasy. No more Keybers for the rest of the round, but now no more control on that roam potential, and we've seen power plays from this position earlier on today.
NIP, really good position. Man advantage. Feels though FaZe are a little bit blind right now, and they are trying to do their drone work, but and FaZe, we know what plant they're going to go for. So do NIP. Have to walk through that door at some point. Hates. He's been a bit of a sleeper agent this game, hasn't he? He just seems to hit them where it hurts. I think died the one time too. 4-1 is where he sits, and he's still down a man. And Vidiking is thinking about it, but just pulls back for the meantime. Now he is going to confirm it. No, waddles back out after punching the BP is a weird
Just
one.
a waddle.
But 20 seconds, get a move on, fellas.
Well, there's the roll, the coverage of the plant. And there's a worry of a reaction. Somebody stepped up a bit closer. The only potential here is Pino on green, and he's able to win out his fight. 7 seconds. Can't really get to the kit and get it cleanly back in time. They have the cross angle NIP. One blip at the start of now 4 in a row. Well, they get themselves that 5-1 half.
Yeah, very impressive NIP. Understanding the fundamentals. They've never once looked panicked. I think throughout this entire game, they have been calm, they've been steady. They know what they want to do. I mean, especially for that bomb site. NIP are more than happy to let FaZe plant. They're playing a retake game. That's the way that they're geared up. They're not interested in throwing all of their eggs into the one basket where we have to stop the plant, we have to stop the plant. You know, they take their time with it. You know, they say if they plant, we retake. We're always winning that opening engagement too. We're always getting that first kill. We use that extra man for the retake.
We've just been gifted a very fun stat from Links on our desk about that. NIP are currently 12-0 on the entry between yesterday and today. Which is a ludicrously good statistic.
5 seconds left.
At this point, FaZe, not opting for the timeout. It's hard to say if this is par for the course or not. You said, you know, a 4-2 half isn't unheard of. Fine.
No.
But the way that this half has played out, where the 4 sites that have... Yeah, and the 4 sites that have been lost as well, there's no rhyme or repetition to it. NIP seems to have full control of it. FaZe is struggling with the pace, as you said. Dumpstered is a strong verb. Put it in the dictionary.
I mean, 2 players on 0 and 5, Emmy. That's not good enough.
No.
It's not. For a team of this caliber, the expectations that I have on FaZe are massive, and they always will be. You lose a game, you lose a game. But you don't go out and you get absolutely battered and you lose a game. You go out and you make it close. Yeah? Can't be having that at this level for FaZe. You can't be, especially on the build at the playoffs. This is the point where, obviously, NIP, FaZe, Furia, W7M, they're all in playoffs. Yeah? They all have to go through that. What it's all about is building momentum going into those playoffs. If you're going to get hit by a hefty loss against one of your rivals who are also up there in a prime team to, you know, you'd expect to see being in good contention for a top 4 finish and getting into that major spot, you need to do better.
Well, as they try and hunt down the loose players, Hates has been able to make themselves a friend close by. Be the coverage of the call, and they're actually going to, maybe bait the swap of the shell sound out, try and lure somebody in to go for the fight. They'll hear that it's changed hands, and Handy is now going to try and lead in. Gets there first. Wizard is gone. But with the timer and a minute 10, it's quite late for them to be able to get this, and Cons isn't a million miles away as well. Obviously not got the mirror for the stretch, but think about how the last round ended. It was time pressure. They were struggling to get their way down the stairs and put the pressure on towards the back of the site itself, and as Cons just absolutely stabs them in the back, gets to and gets out of there as well. King not in a position to get a response. Now he can buy himself time, fine. You can set up a catch round the back, but he's got smoke canisters to buy it, and you don't even catch him. He's gone. He's looking for fights himself. Oh, FaZe. The man has slipped through your fingers and gets a third. Handy taken. Souls finally ends his reign of terror and puts us in the 3 versus 2. But they've just got to once again drop themselves in towards the site. King goes down in the middle of it. A 3 versus 1 for a Glass to try and cross the divide. And he won't get far. 5 to 1/2 for NIP.
Just disgusting, isn't it? Absolutely disgusting. Wow. I mean, essentially, he's a David Guetta song. Titanium. Simple as that. Bulletproof.
You've hit him with the David Guetta com. Where do I go from here? Simple as that.
I don't think you should be asking where you're going. I think FaZe should be asking themselves where they're going.
Yeah.
Because 5-1/2 on a map layer, which you haven't lost. High preference map for you. You've looked good on it. And this is where we are. This is supposed to be a close game in my books. It has to be.
Well, this is the worst FaZe have performed in a half throughout this split. Maybe in terms of
a long time. In a long time since I've seen FaZe like this.
Yeah.
Very, very long time. I'd have to go digging to find out the last time I've seen FaZe not play to the standard.
Yeah, there wasn't a single moment throughout this season. Even in the game that they lost against W7M, it was, 4-2 halves. They were on the wrong side of 3-3 halves. That sort of split. In the OT game, it was even half to get them all the way there as well. There has not been this big of a divide they've suffered on the wrong side of. And they haven't taken a timeout, and it's a game of 2 halves, fine. Now the pressure is on NIP to see if they can try and keep this cool control they've been able to muster over the opening half of this showdown. Limitations of the electronics mean that those walls shouldn't be too tricky to get themselves in. But in terms of the split of how things go, well, if the huge high defensive win rate that is enjoyed by NIP started the day at 73%, goes up to 74%, which is pretty outstanding.
But I've got a stat.
Yep.
You want to know the last time that FaZe got 7-1 in a BO1?
When?
October 2nd. 2022.
Whoa! Okay, you were buried.
Last time we got 7-1.
Wow, wow. Let's see if they can try and not have a distant repeat of history here. There's quick pressure. Immediately, NIP, they're keeping themselves moving and schmoving. The grenade will bounce around. There's not quite the full coverage. They have the ping on one trap player. Now, what do you do? Where do you go? And there's also somebody underneath as well.
How is he not dead?
Hello? I don't quite know, but either side not dead. I think they were a bit cautious of the player underneath. They didn't fully send it. FaZe a bit lucky to all of them get out of that.
Crazy. Absolutely insane that Handy just was thrown in the corner looking at Blackbeard. He just, I don't know. Oh dear. I mean, like you mentioned, nobody's really taking any damage. I think that's probably a crazy thing too. Just things seem to be going fine for both sets. Cabana in, opening the breach. I mean, look at the win con here for FaZe, and it just has to come into how good, you know, the smoke is, because other than that, I don't think they've got any Goyos to stop a default plant going in. So it really comes down to the smoke. But actually players downstairs, and Hates almost gets taken out because of that. He is down just a sliver of HP as the impact was fired at his head, but he's still okay. But that's still really good information though for NIP, knowing that players are going to be off site. You can maybe hit the site quick if you want to.
Oh, gets one, traded out, a bit of an impact blow. I'm not sure if that was from below, but they know that Cyber is still trying to cause trouble around this area, and they're watching and waiting with the bait. Now they have this man bonus, and moving away from the smoke canister, though another one seems like it's gonna pop sooner rather than later, as they do actually find Cyber underneath. A 5 versus 3. 2 players of NIP massively hurt though, and only a pocket full of seconds to try and get this kit stuck, and one more smoke canister to try and get their way through. There's the roll of the lights, there's the smoke canister. Cons will have to pull off. 17 seconds, and FaZe move into the open territory, and Fantasy shuts them right down. The smoke canister gets the end of one, and there's at least a follow through. There's suddenly a spray against it, but Hates stops that turning into a clip of the day. NIP, how long's it been, Demo, since a 7-1 again?
Hold on, I'm going to tell you exactly how many days. It is 1,092 days.
And NIP,
That's it. That's where we are.
might be about to break that record. His cameraman in the background of Ida King there, he's recording history. Just a bit of a sad bit. It's not over yet. It's a team that's been able to bounce back from rough moments before, but NIP have just looked fantastic. I guess it's the scale of these two teams, of, you know, how often they've met, how well they know each other.
I mean, I will say this about NIP. A year ago, NIP, I mean, even go back 2 years ago, NIP were considered, you know, not really a threat to the top 4. You know, weren't going to disrupt the regime, weren't going to disrupt the hierarchy. That org, that team, they had their day. You know, they won the SI, that team's gone. Team has been molded, changed, whatever you want to do. Nobody ever thought, you know, NIP were going to come out the way that they have. And I'll have to give so much credit to this team. This year has been phenomenal for them.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Absolutely phenomenal. I think the pickups that they made were spot on for what they needed. They needed a new look. They needed to get away from what they were, because obviously they were still living in the past. You know, you've got one player left from that team that won, SI, and that being Pino. That's it. Everything else is new. I think they were very smart in the players that they got in to refine who they wanted to be. Fantasy, for me, was supposed to be the next big thing about 4 years ago. Never lived up to that potential. Never got onto the big teams like FaZe, like Liquid. But he's getting his chance now, and he's almost. It almost feels as though he's almost 4 years late from where we thought he was going to be. But now it just took him a little while, and he has been phenomenal for me on this team. NIP, I think, are the real deal. Really, they have. They've done it over 2 stages. The consistency is there. I think they've been a pleasure to watch.
I've had a quick scan on some dates as well, and I could be wrong about this, so I'll actually ask our desk if they've got a different number. The last time I've got of NIP beating FaZe Clan was in 9th of September 2023 in the closed league, and that doesn't poll everything. But since the other times that these two teams have met, on the data sheet that I'm pulling from,
no. I've got 26th of August last year.
and what showdown was that?
Super Copa do Brazil.
Okay, that's not in my data pool. But still, a year since they've been able to beat a team that they play pretty continually.
Yeah, FaZe have won the last 4 contests.
Without contest as well. Not a single drop map, even across a couple of best of 3s. And NIP. It shows that, you know, your sort of point of where they've come and where they've gone. The pressure. Across here on towards the site, you can see that FaZe have pulled themselves a bit close towards each other's chest. There's more of an approach here on towards top green. Instead of going for the take they did last time, they sort of said, look, FaZe will expect it. They approached the same side both times, regardless of results. We have approached it once that way. Let's change things up. Buck underneath. There is no loose player from FaZe underneath the site this time as well. That wasn't the first kill that they got. Instead, it was almost the kill that FaZe got before everything else started to peel away from them. Instead, a shield knocking on the door, rolls right in towards the site and pulls out all of the awareness. The smoke is going to force them back towards a couple of players in a second. They have the watch on the window. It's a very important job you've got right now, Wizard, and they do it quite well. There's the first. And there's a post-plant situation down a second after. But they could watch this from the Buck position. They have to root them out, drop the hatch, or try and swing themselves round right now and dig them out of that basement position. Handy gets Wizard. But the eyes are on Hates for all of this. 28 seconds and a bit more of a cross-watch. There's a spray through. They've crossed a bit of the divide, but Souls goes down to Pino. They're inside the room and knocked right back out as Pino gets one more, but there's Vinicking and Handy, one apiece. It's all on Pino, and 14 seconds does some damage to the mirror. Can't quite net the rest. There it is. And there it is! NIP! A 7-1 against the FaZe that have for so long looked unshakable. However many days you said it was, Demo. Reset the counter.